Welcome to part one of our 5-part series on our throwing athlete evaluation. Now, this could be for pitchers, softball players, anyone that just plays the sport of baseball, softball, quarterbacks, or any type of rotational athlete. So today I'm going to cover 3 parts of our evaluation. Part 1 is going to be the shoulder screen. Part 2 is neurological regression, and part 3 is the pH test. So the shoulder screen. Part 1 of the shoulder screen, which is actually 6 parts, is just shoulder posture. So this could be scapular dyskinesis, which is an unleveling of the scaps in a normal position, or it could be any type of upper cross syndrome or head positions or anything like that that could have to do with the posture of the shoulders. Okay, number 2 would be scapular density. So scapular density, subscapular density rather, would be trying to get your fingers up underneath the scaps to see if you have the right amount of tension and the right amount of control and fascial tissue that's underneath the scap. Number 3 would be scapular pinching. Do you have enough control of your scaps to be able to make that pinching motion? And part 4 is going to be winging. Does your scap sit on the body in a dysfunctional way? Do you have internal rotation of the shoulder? Is your AC joint rolled in a certain position that puts you in a disadvantage or creates biomechanical error? Then the next one would be scapular divot. And most of that divot, it would be a lack of mass in your infraspinatus on the posterior of your shoulder. And those things are important. And last but not least is bicep tricep volume test. Now, that is putting your arm in a certain position to see if you can rotate your radius and you can rotate your humerus with the right proportionate amount of tissue and mass between your biceps and triceps. There's been many athletes that have created dysfunction by doing the wrong type of training for their arms, especially the biceps and triceps. So there's got to be a functional test on the rotational capabilities and the mass proportion bicep to tricep mass, appropriate mass. So those things we take into account when we help make individualizations to their programming within our system. Next, neurological regression. So neurological regression is basically a survey. How much have you grown in the last 6 months? How much weight have you gained in the last 6 months? If you grow an inch, that's 2 months regression on neurological processes, meaning your coordination is docked about 2 months from a regression standpoint. If you gain 20 pounds, that's going to be about a 4-month regression. Why do we test for this? Or why do we take this information down? Because we can work on different coding drills, different types of drills for coordination that are going to help your body reconnect with those processes and speed that regression back up to where, from an electrical and neurological standpoint, you are on par with those changes that are happening to your body. That's a real thing. Then the last that we're going to cover today is pH balance. So athletes can tell us all they want. Yes, I eat correctly. I don't eat sweets. I don't eat processed foods. I'm hydrated, but the pH test doesn't lie. So we have a certain number that they have to hit on their pH test, and then we recommend certain things based on the scores that they get. Now, this is just 3 of 13 things that we test for. And remember, at the end of the test, we have a safe velocity goal, or we have actually their current safe velocity, and we have their projected mound velocity that's based off if they fix all the biomechanical errors and all the physiological errors that we find within this assessment. And again, remember, this is not just for pitchers, even though it's key for pitchers. This is for anyone that plays a rotational sport. So if you're interested, we're going to put out 4 more of these this week with more information on the test and how that can be helpful to you. Thanks for tuning in. One thing that I forgot, you cannot fix shoulder issues with just bands. It takes so much more than that. There's biomechanical issues. Just using bands to fix shoulder issues is like painting over a rusted, broken down fence and thinking that that is going to give you the integrity in that fence that you need. Bands are a part of the equation, but there's exercises you need to do with body weight. There's biomechanical coding and drilling that you need to do. There are strength factors on the posterior side of your body that you have to meet the criteria for. And there's things that are specific to your body that you've got to make sure that you do to overcome these shoulder issues. Just doing a band program, that's not going to do it. That's part of it, but you can't just rely on something. The shoulder's been around a lot longer than bands have been around. And while we use bands in our program, you got to have tools that you can use if you just have light dumbbells, if you just have body weight, and if you only have other resources, you still have to make it work. And there's biomechanical markers that can help you develop your shoulders the right way as well.